Yes, people. So today we have Kris from Tinpail TV up in sunny Scotland. So we did do a podcast nigh on 2 years ago, 2023, talking about Kris's time inside the prison system up in Scotland and the differences between the English and the Scottish prisons. And obviously talking about his background, how he ended up in prison and how many years he ended up spending in prison, because you did spend quite a lot of time in prison, didn't you, Kris?
Yeah. I had 2 sentences in my whole life, but I served the recall. So some people, if they don't know what a recall is, it means like, say you get out, say you get a sentence, then you're released either halfway through or 2/3 through. You still have a period left in the community that you serve outside. But if you commit a further offence while you are in the community, you go back to finish the rest of the sentence and whatever you get added on. So I basically was in like 4 or 5 times, but it was 2 sentences with recalls. Yeah.
So you served the full sentence. Obviously, it's the same down in England. You do your sentence, say you get a 10-year. It's actually now halved. I think it's actually now 40%. So if you get a 10, you do 4 and then 60 on the last 6 years on license.
Yeah.
But what people don't understand is you could actually end up serving the whole lot if probation recall you and you don't get along with probation or whatever, or you're no good, you get recalled, you will serve the
Or you say something you weren't supposed to.
Well, Kris, what we'll do is if you tell the viewers a little bit about where you're from and where you grew up, and then how you ended up in prison, and then we'll get on talking about the differences in the prison systems and what's actually going on inside the system at the moment.
No problem, Ricky. Thanks for having me. Could I guess it's my son Christopher's birthday today, and I give him a little shout out.
Is it? Happy birthday, Christopher.
Yeah, thanks. And a shout out to my dear friends Batman, Jedi, Scott, and Roscoe, who have supported my journey since I've been on YouTube. But so to get into what you just said, so I was born in the early 1980s. My parents were like 17 years old. By the time they had me, they'd already had a son. So I've got an older brother who's 10 months older than me. And my mum and dad were from an area of Glasgow called the Gorbals on the south side. And my father moved to the kind of periphery of Glasgow, the southeastern periphery. And that there was a kind of stable period where my dad was with a partner. There was no drug use, and you would maybe see the odd fight at Christmas or some shit, an argument or whatever, but I never lived in any sort of fear or anything like that. But then my dad met a new partner, moved to Hastings in East Sussex, and eventually took us with him. But he moved away from Glasgow because he was involved in hard drug use. No, he's a young guy, and heroin's hit Glasgow. Nobody really knew what they were taking. A lot to do with, so see, like kind of like legal highs hitting the prison. Nobody knows what it is. They're just all taking it. So my dad moved there to get away from influences in Glasgow, which was pretty. I wouldn't say it was a trauma that he moved there, but it was horrible, Ricky. See, moving, I would rather he moved to fucking France or somewhere, just because like being a Scottish kid in England growing up was not really a lot of fun at times. Yeah, people asking you to say certain words because it's funny the way you say it, and everybody busting out laughing. And I was a really shy and introverted kid, so I really felt like a fish out of water. But me and my brother had got into trouble. We were fighting in school with this older boy, and the police got involved and stuff. And my dad sent us back to Glasgow to live with my grandparents. And round about that time, so say I was 13 years old, but I had a brief period living with my biological mother, and like she was involved in like organised crime. I wouldn't say organised crime like a mansion and Scarface material, but like in about it, as we say, grafting. selling Class A drugs, but there was also child abuse, like neglect. Me and my brother were being neglected severely, physical violence, all this kind of stuff, and I was terrified I mean physically terrified when I lived with her. So I eventually went back to my dad's then in England, and then me and my brother were charged with actual bodily harm. It's for fighting with this guy in school. My brother was stamped on his face, and we got kicked out of school and stuff. And my dad let us come back to Scotland to live with my grandparents, but my dad ended up dying. So my dad's brother, my dad's sister, and my dad, they all died within a period of 13 months of each other, and all of them were in their 30s. And my dad's sister died of cancer, and the other, my dad and his brother, died in drug-related incidents. So you have this kind of this environment, this kind of simmering pot of no father figure, looking up to gangsters and stuff, and having a picture of life that may not be accurate. It might be a skewed way to look at life, but you think that's the way that the world works. And I was running the streets with my brother and his friends. We were gang fighting all the time. Like we would like basically meet up at night or whatever, dressed in dark clothing with weapons, and we would like walk through other areas looking for targets, like people. So say Ricky Killeen from, you guys call it a housing estate, we call it a housing scheme.
Yeah.
We would just, whatever scheme we happened to be at war with at that time, we would so say there would always be somebody who we wanted to catch. And couple of times, well, no, a couple of times, quite frequently, to be honest, we would sneak through schemes and chase people, catch people, beat them up, and the same would happen to us. You know, like sometimes I remember being attacked and being stabbed. The first time I was stabbed, I was it was a month before my 15th birthday. It was May 1997. I remember the exact date. It was the 17th of May 1997. I had 80 stitches in my forearm. It was a serrated kitchen knife that went straight through my arm. Just there's loads of just different incidences like that. So there's this culture of violence and smoking weed, drinking at the weekend, chasing girls, all this kind of stuff. So my life was really going nowhere. And then this culminated in a charge when I was 15 of abducting two social workers who were escorting me to like a care home, an overnight care home or something. I had a knife in my tracksuit jacket, and I'd been drinking vodka, and I'd been looking for this older guy. So I was like 15, he was like 19, and my plan was to use a weapon on him, and I didn't, because the house that I was in, it was my girlfriend's house, my ex-girlfriend's at the time. Her mum would not leave my side. She knew I was going to do something, and there was so much tension in the household that social work were called, and I've always had an animus towards social workers, because when I lived with my biological mum and all this abuse was going on, like, we told them and they sent us back. So I've always just hated them. Not even just that, like, or when you look at, see, every time I see a newspaper article where there's a social worker that either neglected kids, done something to kids, or was stupid enough when all the red flags were there, that really ups me, to put it mildly. So I really don't have much time for them. So I'm not using this as an excuse for what I done, but it was my reasoning. Like, I was like basically like, fuck them, I need to get to my pals. I'm not going to a care home. I've never been in a home in my life. And I pulled a knife out and forced them to drive to my friend's bit full of vodka. And one of them tried to activate a personal alarm, but I heard a beeping noise, right? They tried to press something, and I was like, what the fuck's that noise? And I was cutting open all the seats and stuff. So it must have been pretty scary for them. You know, that's somebody's relative, daughter, parent, cousin, whatever, son, whatever. So I get it. I get that. not trying to justify or excuse it, but it did happen. So I have to accept responsibility. But at the same time, when people say about remorse and stuff, I say, you don't own my remorse. You have no right to my remorse. My remorse is for the victims. It's no for you. Why should I show you my remorse when I didn't hurt you? See, like parole boards and stuff. And I think that was why they kind of didn't like my attitude. Like, you don't own, you have no right to see that part of me. Do you know what I mean? So I got 4 years for that. At 15, I was in Glasgow High Court. And I don't know if you know this, but back then they used to be able to add time onto your sentence for fightings and stuff like that. So I ended up
England as well. Obviously, if you got into trouble, if you were doing
yeah,
like a if you went down the block for your nicking, you could get time added on.
yeah, it was called Added Days Awarded, ADA or something. So when I got the 4 year sentence, I was supposed to serve like 2 year, 8 months if I didn't get parole. But the thing is, while I was serving, so I started serving that sentence in a place called Law, which is it's not a prison, it's like a children's home with a prison. It's treated like a prison. There's bars in the windows, there's a security perimeter, every door is locked, only one door's open at a time, blah blah blah. Like the kind of places you would see like the Bulger killers and stuff would have went when they were sentenced, like these kind of places. So I served the first year in there and asked to be transferred to Polmont Young Offenders, to which they agreed because they said that to this the Scottish government came to a meeting, so the Scottish office it was called at the time. I don't know if they still call it that, and they said to the Scottish office, this environment's too soft for him. He needs to go somewhere else. And but I saw it as a test of my character, because sometimes the members of staff would say, you wouldn't handle Polmont, you would get beaten up in Polmont. And I used to be like, well, fucking put me in a transfer then. And then while they were transferring me, I absconded. And I got 3 months added on for that, plus X amount of time for fighting. So I ended up serving, so I was supposed to be released in July 2000, but I wasn't released until October of 2000. So I got out in October 2000, went back to my old ways, and was recalled back to prison in June of 2001 and released in February 2002. So that was like my first sentence, even though there was, that was my first introduction to the young offenders it was, you know. But even though sometimes I'd have to go through Barlinnie, but it was just a different time for me. Do you know what I mean?
But before we move on to the next bit, it's like what you were saying earlier on was exactly the same as me. And a lot of people, a lot of my viewers and subscribers, like they do understand it now, but they couldn't understand it at first, especially when I was on the HMP Franklin documentary. And I would say, like, from the age of 7, 8-year-old, I wanted to go to prison because I was in that environment, grew up around violence. Violence was the answer. I was always violent from a young age. And like we've just said, like you see violence, monkey see, monkey do. You see violence from a young age. It solves the problems. So that becomes accustomed to you. You think that's normal. And then everyone who's older than you that you look up to, like you've just said, you look up to gangsters. I used to watch the gangster movies, the American prison documentaries, and think I want to do that.
Yeah, no, same.
Like, what sort of a fucking warped sense of mind is that when an 8-year-old kid is saying they want
because
to
we
go
held it to look up to, that's why.
But people like yourself, obviously, there's not just me on here saying it, you as well.
Yeah.
And like, there's kids out there now who's living on these schemes and housing estates who's in the exact same mindset. And people think, well, why would you think like that? Because that's the way you grow up. You grow up around violence. The people that you looked up to would be into prison. They come out of prison with a swagger. They think there's something, and you're thinking, I want to be like that. Because you haven't got a good role model to look up to. So you look up to someone like that, and that's how it happens. And like you've just said there, obviously, when you went into prison as well, you've become violent inside of prison because you've got to be. Otherwise, you'll be a victim.
Yeah, sink or swim.
But the young offender prisons, obviously, I think they're a lot worse than the adult prisons because the young offenders everyone is like-minded. They're all trying to prove themselves. Then the ones that can't become victims, get bullied. But then
Yeah.
obviously the other lads that don't like the bullying, so they do the bullies in, and then just an ongoing.
Yeah, it's a vicious circle. 100%.
So when you went back in, is that when you went into the adult prisons?
So when I was released in February 2002, I was out in the streets until September of 2003, when I was charged with an attempted murder charge and so see the ABH charge you guys have, the actual bodily harm. We don't have that charge here. We have a charge called serious assault, permanent disfigurement, and assault to severe injury or some stuff. It's like basically using a weapon. So that was the context of that charge. Was I was 21 at the time. I'd no long term 21. I get into a fight outside a bar, a pub with these two older guys. One was 27, one was 32, and I'd smacked one of them right in the face. He punched me right, so I had a pool ball and a golf ball inside a sock because I'd been trying to stop carrying knives. There's just something about knives now that I just kind of. I'm no for them, do you know? I'm just no for them whatsoever. No for weapons at all, to be honest. But back then, I always felt I needed something, a game changer. Maybe it was insecurity. Maybe it was because I felt I couldn't fight good. Whatever the problem was going on, but probably because of the amount of times that I'd been stabbed as well. I'd been stabbed right through the mouth with a Stanley knife, and my lip was hanging away. See the inside of my lip was hanging away down here. I had to go and get it sewn back in. Nearly lost so 3 of my fingers. Remember I was telling you the fingers and stuff. So right. So I'd had all these knife injuries, and I was just like, I didn't want to carry knives, but I had to carry something. So I had a pool ball and a golf ball inside a sock with a knot tied in it, so that because obviously I don't know if you've ever used one before, but they rip. If you only use one sock, it'll burst. So it's to keep the stuff inside. So anyway, I got into a conversation with these two guys outside the bar, and I vaguely knew them. One of them was being fine, the other one was being completely aggressive. The one that was being aggressive, I said to his brother, fucking take him home before I hurt him, and the guy just punched us. So I took that pool ball and golf ball out and whacked him right in between the eyes with it, and he just slid right down the shutters. The other brothers attacked me, but I had friends in the pub across the street at the time who came out and saw this, so they've all joined in. People were hitting them with bottles and whatever. And to cut a long story short, there was one that we called the young team. I don't know, you call it. I think you guys call it the young girls or whatever.
Oh,
so
right,
like
yeah.
the wee guys that are trying to copy the older boys. So once we had beat them up, the guy who had punched me was lying on the ground, and I was whacking him. I was still whacking him with this weapon set, telling him to apologise. And I'm not saying this like this is not a boast. I'm just saying what happened. This was I was 21. I was just totally affronted that somebody came into my own area and hit me in the face. I was just totally affronted, and I was going through some stuff with my younger cousin. She was only 10 years old. She had just been diagnosed with leukemia, and so anyway, I'd been up to see her the night before in the hospital, and I just see hospitals, Ricky. This is a children's hospital, right? And all the kids have got wires, and it's horrible just even thinking that there's children who have never committed a sin in their life, and they're almost been like not born into an illness, and I'm sitting thinking to myself, what fucking right have I got to complain about life? Do you know what I mean, mate? So I was basically on the hunt that night because these other boys had tried to put bricks through my uncle's windows because he's related to me. So I think I was just tightly wound up that night, and then a guy happened to punch me, and I projected all that anger onto him. So he ended up being stabbed it wasn't stabbed by me, but this 16-year-old kid stabbed him, punctured his lung, and that was why it was an attempt murder charge. So 4 of us were arrested, and the other 3 boys were first offenders, but they all got 7 years each. and I got 10 years with 6 years extended license. So basically, in Scotland back then, if you got 10 years, if you got parole, you did 5 years. But if you didn't get parole, you did 6 year, 8 months. So I did the 6 year, 8 months. And then I got out in May 2010. And I was out until July of 2011. And I got recalled. So I still had like 8 point something years. And I served every day, man. So I did like, so out of the 16 year, I did like 14 years, 8 months or I don't know, something like that, mate.
So you've done the equivalent of a life sentence, really, because that's obviously
basically,
a lot of the time for murder. That's round about 14 to 20 years. So it's
See, funny thing is, let me congratulate you on having your IPP lifted. I forgot to say that to you. And the interesting thing, mate, I was genuinely happy for you. I thought he's never getting that lifted, man. I never thought it was going to happen. It happened. So do you know what? I was genuinely happy for you when I see that. I don't usually experience emotions for a lot of things, but I was genuinely happy for you, mate, because I know you've turned your life around and stuff. And I saw a lot of myself in you because of the way you've spoken, your channel and that. But my point was, when I was being took to trial for that attempt murder charge, so this was like my 5th indictment or 4th indictment for a knife offence. Some of them had been dropped. And my lawyer was like, Kris, they want to give you, so you guys call it IPP, we call it LRO, lifelong restriction order. So it's basically like, if you, this is your stuff.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So but I thought my lawyer was just talking shit. I was like, you're just saying that so as I get 10 years and then I go, oh, here everybody, he got me a 10, they were about to give me life. But no, the judge said it in my report. I'd considered administering a discretionary life sentence. And the only thing that saved me was the fact that I addressed the judge and said, I genuinely do want to change. I just don't know how to. But I know when I go to jail, I'm going to come out better than I went in. And I did, but I'm still fucked up. Know what I mean?
Well, that's what happens when you spend a lot of time in prison. It interferes with your head, doesn't it? And you just got to go going into coffees or going to sit with your back against the wall.
Aye, man. Somebody stunned their tea. Somebody stunned their tea too long. You're like, what are you doing? That used to bug me. If I had a cellmate that used to really stir his tea for ages, it was usually, then I would just be looking at him like, what are you doing, man?
And talking about that as well, talking about cellmates, because obviously what we'll do now, obviously, since we've told that bit story, we'll just fucking whatever pops up, we're talking about cellmates. I had to actually, I was seeing what they call a community psychiatric nurse because I was suffering from anxiety. I didn't know what it was when I was there, got my IPP.
Right.
And I had a pad mate and he would do me fucking nothing like what you're saying there, but like with the TV remote, the volume and all that, fucking just little things. And I'm like, oh, I can't stand this.
Aye.
So I did the CPN. I says, listen, I says, you need to, they says, is there anything I can help you with? I said, I says, I need a single pad. They wouldn't give us one, so I had to fabricate it a bit. I say as well, when he's irritating and he's got his back turned towards us, I'm having these visions about what I'm going to do to him when his back's turned. And they were like, oh shit, this man needs a single cell. So I got myself a single cell. I couldn't deal with them pad mates.
I'm the same, but I've had a few good ones. I've had a few right funny. Like, I remember I had a pad mate, or we call it in Scotland a co-pilot, and he was on the bottom. He was on the bottom bunk, right? What a laugh we used to get, Ricky, man. And he was like that. See, when I first saw you in my cell, because he was at work and I'd just been sentenced. They came back and they saw me, and there was kind of no like, fuck, who's this nut job? Know what I mean? So we just, the first night I was in there, the two of us were up all night just killing ourselves laughing at mad stories, right? And we used to play like mad jokes on each other, not so he'd be lying sleeping, but the pillows would be propped up, so he wouldn't be lying flat. And I would I would be on the top bunk and I'd swing my pillow around my head and go, come on, whack him right in the face and wake him up, man. we used to get some laughs, but see what you just said there, right? See what you said about, see in Scotland, if you done that, you would probably get put in the seg or like done with threatening or something, because that's happened to me quite a few times. Like I've said stuff.
That's why I had to be careful with it, obviously, with serving the IPP. But this was obviously right at the beginning when I'd just been sentenced and that. But because you were seeing like a CPN who was there to help you, and they're saying like, is there anything I can help you with? But when I went back in on my recall, the same thing happened. But I knew if I tell these, if I make something up, or if I say I'm going to do me pad mate, then you're going to get written up. You get knocked back on your parole and everything. So I suffered for fucking weeks thinking, how am I going to get this sorted? Eventually did, but I had to make up a story that I said I was sleepwalking during the night and I was grabbing a hat of me pad mate and I was shaking him and fucking half throttling him. He's waking up screaming and I'm screaming, so
it's quite inventive.
I had a lot of sleepless nights with fucking thoughts like thinking I need a single pad me head's fucking
100%. That's how mate used to.
Serving an IPP sentence on a recall, it should not be allowed. They shouldn't be padding them up anyways, because that's a lot to deal with in your fucking mind.
I totally agree. I don't believe any prisoner should share a cell unless that's what they want. It's no for me. I need to know you. See, if I want to share a cell with you, I need to know you, and it's one of the ones I need to know. We're so close, or we've bonded through something that it's just like nothing you do annoys me, and I can tell you to your face what I think without you fucking want to stab me or something. Know what I mean? Know what I mean?
You get a new pad mate, you're lying on your bunk bed. The toilet's there right near where your fucking head is, and they come and sit down and take a shit in front of you. And you're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
That sounds nasty, mate, doesn't it? Smelling nice shit as well, mate. You know, so the funny thing is, I think all these wee things are wee little pieces of a jigsaw that help me, guys like me and you, right? Even though we have the past of violence or prison or whatever, like I realise how lucky I am to sleep in my own bed at night, and I've got gratitude for my freedom and being able to walk out my front door and just go and piss in the street if I want. Know that I would do it, but
exactly,
do you know what I mean?
I'll have gratitude. I just think like I'm fucking so pleased I've woke up this morning. I'm pleased I'm healthy. I'm pleased I've still got my family. I'm pleased I'm not in prison. You've got to wake up like that. If you wake up in a negative mindset, like I used to think, oh, for fuck's sake, or I've got beef with such and such, or you think about a past negative event, then that puts you in a bad mindset for the rest of the day. But if you wake up like you've just said, and just say, I'm fucking grateful for being able to open my eyes and fucking see.
100%.
I also think about people that are still inside, the ones I met inside. I've got a very close friend who is doing life with a recommendation of 30 years. He's actually done 20 now, by 21. No, sorry, he's done 24 years, and it was a 33. It was actually a 30-year recommendation, but he done 3 years on remand. But when he got found guilty and sentenced, the judge said, you're starting your sentence from today. The remand didn't count. So he had to do a 30 and he'd already done 3. But he's done 24 years now, and he's down to his last 9. And he talks as though it's the last 9 months.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing with guys who have done serious time. I think it warps how you see time. Do you get what I mean by that? Yeah, it just warps how you look at time. Like, I think time in jail flies, but out here it's slow. It's like prison. It changes your concept of time. You know, it's just. I think you need to have been there to know what we're talking about, kind of thing. But that is kind of like 9 months to him. Know what I mean? 30 years. How could you do 3 year in remand, mate? That would have fried my brain.
It's because there was a trial that went ahead, but they had a hung jury, so then they had to have a retrial, and that's why it took so long. But then he said to us that the 3 year, when he got sentenced and they give him a 30-year recommendation, it hurt him more that they didn't give him the 3 year that he'd already done. He wasn't bothered about the 30; it was a 3 he'd already done.
Aye, because imagine that, like that's like the judge spitting in your face when he sent you downstairs to the cells. just took 3 years off you for nothing. Like, because you know yourself, normally you get, what is it, backdated.
Yeah. But going back to obviously when you were in prison serving that sentence and you ended up serving the full lot, what was the turning point for you then when you thought, right, this is enough, I've had enough of this shit, I need to get out and live a better life and get on with my life and live in peace?
I think it was getting the sentence in itself. There was a couple of things, right? So when I got the sentence, I remember just saying, I need to hit the books, right? So know how like you're really into the gym and stuff, right? I was into like reading all these crazy philosophers and academic stuff and that. So I couldn't really do. So what I did was I used education to my advantage because I left school at 14, 15, well, 15, but I was always being kicked out for fighting or throwing eggs at teachers or whatever it was, right? So I never really had a good education, even though I had a brain. But I thought I need to use this to my advantage. And then when I went to Shotts prison in 2004, July 2004 it was, I just thought, as soon as I went there, I said, going to take me up to the education department. And as soon as I went there, they're like, what do you want to do? And I said, what do I have to do to study for a degree? And they were like, oh, you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to do this. This was like, so I went up there in 2004. I had to do all these you need to do this course, you need to do that course. And then see that course, you need to do it again. I think I did see the higher English. Back then it was called higher English. Now they call it something else. I had to do all the work 3 times because the teacher kept leaving. So it'd be one teacher and I'd do all the work, he'd leave. And our teacher came in, they'd do all the work and she'd leave. And I was flipping, mate. I was like that education teacher. She's like, you will not be accepted to study for your degree if you don't have higher English. And I was going nuts because I was like, oh, fucking what? I was going mental, mate. 3 times I did it. But I was so focused and I wanted it so bad that so I ended up getting on it. But I remember seeing this guy, right, who was a lifer. He was in for 3 murders that he committed like 1984 or something, right? So this is 2004. So he's already been in it since I was like 2 years old. And he sounded so bitter. And I thought to myself, that's going to be you if you don't fucking get your act together. But don't get me wrong. For the most part, I stayed out of trouble. Like I wasn't in like when I was in from 2003 until 2010, I think I was in like 1 fight and it wasn't even recorded because it was in a cell. So it doesn't count, you know. So I wasn't in a lot of trouble. But I felt my mentality changing, but I also felt really, really like I still felt like half in the life, half out the life, if you get me. Like I felt like kind of my mentality was changing, but it was still kind of the same a little bit. Like I would totally go up. Yeah, 100%, man. And then when I got out in 2010, I was like, my life just felt. I was still doing all my reading, not, but I didn't pick up my degree outside. It wasn't until I went back in. I went back to prison in 2011 that I picked it back up, and but I didn't graduate until like 2017. But the longer that I was at, when I had my son, right, so I got a girl pregnant when I was in the community in 2010. She gave birth 2 weeks after I went back to prison. So my son, who's 14 years old today, met me in Barlinnie prison visitors room. And the first 8 years of his life were spent visiting me in prison, the first 8 years of his life. So now I've been out 6 years and I've never been out that long in my life. The longest I've ever been out of prison since the age of 15 is a year and a half. Now I've been out 6 years in September. So, cheers, man. So, like that, my son was definitely the nail on the head. The change was happening, but that was the nail on the head because as we've both mentioned, like no positive male role models, which I used to laugh at when somebody said that when I was a kid. Like, fucking, who's this idiot? Know what I mean? I'm the person I want to be. You know, I didn't know I was going to change. Could never have foreseen it. But yeah, my son was definitely the just the hook for change, the actual turning point, the catalyst, whatever you want to call it. Because when I went back to prison, I just felt like I'd so let them down. I remember when I was in the police van, right? In fact, see the house that I'm in right now, I was actually lifted like right outside here. And I remember driving away in the back of the police van going, I'll boot for him starting school, I'll get parole. I was out for him going for his communion when he was 8. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ. But when I got out of prison, he was so timid and shy and this and that. And now, like, he could fly kick the eyebrows right off me, mate. You know, he's he's taller than me. He's 14. He goes to karate. He doesn't drink, smoke. He does sit ups and all that. Like
Well done, nice one.
So that's what I say to him. I go, you've got me, because don't get me wrong, Ricky. Right? There's a lot of this gang stuff, this street gang shit. It's kind of coming back, right? But it never left. But what I mean is, it's changing its face. Now it's not like they want to be roadmen and all this shit, right? But I can tell my son's intrigued with that culture, but he has me to tell him the realities of that lifestyle, that culture, where that is going to lead us to. So these wee guys, like, that was just like me when I was a kid, wanted to be fucking Pablo Escobar, but the Scottish version, or John Gotti, whoever it is you look up to, right, or whatever, right? You want to be this big crime kingpin. Everybody knows who you are. You've got all the power, all the trappings of the wealth, but you don't really own that wealth. That wealth's not really yours. That could be taken at the drop of a hat. So, and not even just that, like, you're worrying your best pal's going to set you up with a cop, set you up with an enemy, fuck your bud when you're in the jail. Like, what sounds cool about that? It's only because you don't know any better. But obviously there's guys out there who are good at what they do and they're keeping out whatever they're doing. Like, just, that's not my business, you know. I'm not involved in any sort of levels or whatever. But I tell my son that lifestyle all starts out like that. And what happens is, what you'll find is, seeing like maybe 20 years, see a lot of the wee guys you see in this life who are starting out, they think it's cool jumping about on a scooter with a balaclava and a knife and whatever. Some will end up in jail, some will end up murdered, some will end up drug addicts, some will end up alcoholics, or all of the above. But there'll be a small minority who'll see it for what it is, and they will go and get a bird, a house, a mortgage, have a kid, get a job, a career, whatever. Which happens in, I think, every probably group of friends that are running a bit like that. But he has me, you know. I drum it home to him that there's no winners in that life, man. It's an illusion. It just looks good on TV, entertainment. Just use it for entertainment in the telly. So that's
exactly right,
100%, mate.
Exactly right, because like you say, fucking, if you don't teach your kids, they're going to end up doing exactly the same. But for the likes of us that have been through it, you don't want to see your kid doing this exact same thing, fucking going to visit them in prison, getting into trouble, going out, either getting stabbed or stabbing other people. Well, like you said as well, like, some of these kids in 20 years' time, they're going to be still sitting in prison, or they're going to be dead. And when they're out doing these sort of things in teenage years and young 20s, you don't give a fuck. You don't think about the consequences. And look at my pal for a prime example. He went in when he was 23. He's fucking nearly 50 now. And he's got another, like I've just said, he's got another 9 years. He's going to be in his 60s. That's your fucking life gone.
And he's still not guaranteed to get out when he's in his 60s.
Exactly.
It's
That's
just
and
parole.
if anything happens in the meantime in prison, where you get into any fucking fight or whatever, you don't get that parole. That could end up, look at the likes of Charles Bronson, him on the pitch of Free Bronson. He's a rare enemy to himself.
I saw your video. They swapped his cell. Oh no, that was Robert Mausley's.
That was Robert Mausley.
He's got a new occupant.
But the likes of Bronson, his sentence was a 7 year, I think it was, recommendation of 7 year. He's been in 50 years or something like that. Fucking that's the legacy he wanted as well. He wanted to be known as that, and I think he still does to this day, because he's got no chance of getting parole, but getting back to the point, these youngsters, like if they haven't got anyone to point them in the right direction, like us, then they're going to go down that path, and they're just going to be.
100%.
There is a time that comes when it normally happens when you get in your 40s or late 30s when you think, fucking hell, it's time to settle down. But what happens if you're already in there doing that massive sentence? You might settle down in prison, but you're stuck in there. You can't get out.
Yeah.
Waking up, being at peace, you kind of put a price on that.
100%.
Big time that fucking watch the channel that are sitting with fucking millions of pounds and they fucking constantly got ripped every day. They've got to move house to house. They can't sit and live it, and they'll be thinking, I wish I could just live like that.
Aye, fucking
they've got the reputation, they've got the fucking the backup, they've got the money, but they haven't got the peace.
The peace of mind.
The peace of mind, you can't buy that.
No, definitely, mate.
So if you build up that lifestyle, what you so badly want, like me, when I'm looking, that wish from being 78-year-old to go to prison, finally got me wish and got a fucking life sentence at IPP, 99 year. I was sitting there thinking, fucking hell, be careful what you wish for. I wish for it. I fucking didn't want a present this big. But at least I'm sitting here now being able to tell the tale. I'm still alive and kicking.
So there must have been a reason, you know. I think that sometimes maybe people come back from it in order to tell the story. Maybe that was the purpose all along, you know.
I believe it myself, because there's many a times, even after I got out after my IPP, where, like we've just been on about gratitude, realistically, what I've been through and what I've done, I shouldn't even be sitting here like this, telling this tale. I should be fucking 6 foot under fucking the amount of things I used to do, the things I used to take and get off my head. I'm surprised
I was saying that to my pal yesterday. I was saying how the fact that I'm not dead doing life or a full-blown drug addict / alcoholic or had a mental breakdown, it's crazy. You know,
because you're strong-minded as well because of what you've been through as well, and I've been asked this as well. Like people have said, like obviously growing up around all that violence and then being such a violent person, how come you can control it now? Then, but my violence is always, when I look at it, the way I used to be was controlled violence, is what I would call it, because it was always people that are, in my mind, people that deserved it. I've never bashed any women. I've been with my wife for nearly 20 years now. I've never raised my hand to her, never raised my hand to my kids. So, but if someone hurt me kids or someone done something really bad, then the violence would come back up and come to the surface. So it's, the way I describe it is, it's controlled violence. But
I call it righteous violence. Righteous. Because I don't believe, so let me put it to you this way, right, for quickness, right? So I remember, I can't remember if it was a prison guard or a psychopath or whatever, right? We were having a debate on what you just said there, like violence and how can you do this and all that. And I says, do you think violence is exclusive to people in prison? Look at the history of the planet. Humans are violent by nature. And she said, or the guy or whoever it was, they said, but I'm not. And I says, maybe no. I says, but I couldn't do what you done. I says, so say you walk in one day, you come in the house, and I'm standing with a knife to your wife's throat, and you have a gun in your pocket, are you shooting me? And he said, you fucking better believe it. And I was like, so you're capable then? I says, the only difference is what lights my fuse and lights your fuse is two different things. Obviously, that would light my fuse as well. If I came home, somebody had a knife to my kid's throat and I had a gun in my pocket, then that's getting mag dumped into you. But my point is, all human beings have the capability for violence. And as Jordan Peterson says, for people who are capable of great violence and do not act upon that, that's a virtue, right? And I'm not taking away from the fact that both of us have victims out there or whatever, right? That's just the sad fact, right? But if you are being incapable of using violence isn't a virtue, it is a weakness. Because how could you defend your family, your loved ones, if God forbid something happens? So it's no because me and you have been in prison or we grew up in the streets that we are the violent ones. If somebody that's went the whole life and never done anything, they think they're not capable of it. No, you are. It's just you need to snap to do it. Whereas maybe I might just get pissed off and do it. Maybe back in the day, you know, just reactionary. But now I call it righteousness because, like, I've had a few situations since I've been out in the community where I've had to speak to some people in that, and there was no other way to handle it. A guy had threatened my kid, scared them, and this guy was just out of prison, and he was bigger than me, and I thought, when I went down to speak to him, I knew straight away he was going to react, so I reacted first, and he was like going for it, and he was kidding on the knife and all this shit. But I can't. Nobody should be. If my kid's doing something bad, which I've never had a chap at the door for my kid, but if I ever had to get one, just come and speak to me. You know, it's no like I get kids can, kids can be kids. You know, they're children, but don't threaten children. You know, just. It's horrendous, mate. But aye, that was the point. It's right that you're doing it. It's a bad thing for a good reason.
Yeah, that's it. Like I say, because obviously people on the channel have asked us that before, and I've give them that exact answer. I said, like, obviously, sometimes violence not as essential, but needs to be, or is the only answer for some things. And what I mean by that is, as well, is exactly the way you've just described it. If I was walking down the street and I seen someone mugging an old woman, she's lying on the ground and he's done whatever to her, and I'm there street and I can see it happening, then I'm going to go over and fucking give him it.
It's your duty.
Is that justified? Of course it is. You know what I mean?
100%. But we don't condone vigilantism. That's what they'll say to you in court. That's what they always say to you in court, but this court does not condone vigilantism. Like, I was making a citizen's arrest, fuck's sake. The guy struggled.
But in the same breath, the viewers that watch me channel now, the majority of me videos is talking about these beasts and these bacons inside of prison that are getting prison justice, and the viewers are loving watching it because a lot of them see in the comments, prison justice is the best justice. It's better than what the judges dish out because they're getting what they deserve. The likes of that Huntley, people like that who have been seriously hurt inside of prison, and everyone wants to hear these stories. So
yeah,
that's another
100%, 100%. I think that some of the sentences these guys are getting is just unbelievable, you know, mate. But I do watch our videos when one of them's getting posted, mate. It's just the way it works, mate. It's the way it should work at the end of the day. Nobody's the screws are probably fucking laughing as well, you know what I mean?
A lot of the time the screws want to have the screws head up, don't they? So
let it happen. Set it up. Some of them.
Over there, did you ever hear of the term bacon when you refer to?
So bacon bonds. I know what a bonds was. I thought a bonds was like your heat, your napper, your skull. No.
Well, a bacon bonds is like a bacon buddy, but it's like
right.
So it's like bacon bonds.
Right. Now we just call them beasts. We just say the beasts or whatever. That's almost like the universal term in Scotland. The word beast just means like what you're saying, nonce. You know. We don't. We all know what the word nonce is up here, like fucking nonce. You know what I mean? But it's really, I think it's more an English word. But yeah, don't worry. I'll spread the word if MD asks. I'll say a bacon bonds equals nonce. Spread the good word.
Down here, obviously, when they put them when they're on the protection wings, I find it quite. They call them vulnerable prisoner. They're fucking anything but vulnerable when they're out here in the community attacking kids. But yeah, when they put them in prison, they get classed as vulnerable prisoner, and they get fucking mollycoddled and looked after and say, "Oh, the poor little fucking victim, the poor VP." He's not a poor VP. He's a beast. He should be fucking chucked in with the main location, lads.
Yeah, I know. But do you know what? They just don't want the paperwork. You know what I mean? It would be constant, wouldn't it? Every day, man.
An insult to the fucking victims, calling them vulnerable, the predators.
100%. I totally disagree with the reference of a sex attacker as vulnerable, because what he did, what these people do is prey on vulnerable people. They prey on vulnerability. But the way they're seeing it is, but now they're in it's like they're in the Shark Tank now. They're the fish, they're the chum, you know.
Okay.
And tough with me. That's what I say, right? It's righteous violence. That's like, maybe like you could show a clip, right? So say there's no context at all to this clip, right? And it could be a guy in a cell getting totally smashed fuck out, right? And I'm not gonna lie, if I see that, I go, oh, fucking hell, that's shit, man. But you know that's not happening for no reason. That doesn't happen in jail for no reason. There's always a reason. So if you gave the context, listen, this guy was in for doing something to a child or a woman on a night out, and the guy, they try to fly under the radar, which some of them they do, but then somebody will come in and, oh, here, I know him, he done this, whatever, and then they get set about, and it's tough shit. Fuck them. Know what I mean?
Well, yeah, when they get a big slice, do they call it a Mars bar up there as well?
Yeah, Scar, Mars bar, Scar. Yeah. We should collaborate, man. Write a prison dictionary or something. No, what? Fuck that. And what if most of the people buy it or screws, man? We've just fucking compromised the phone system.
So what's the prison system like now up in Scotland then? Because down in England, it's been at maximum capacity for the last, more so over the past year, but the last couple of years, it's at maximum capacity. It's absolutely rampacked. It's understaffed. It's fucking full of drugs, full of violence. And I've given this scenario in this situation before, and I've said, like, you can look at it two ways. The prison system, from a prisoner's point of view, who's doing a fixed sentence, they're in there, they want to have a laugh, they want to get off the nuts. Prison is fucking a big massive playground for them because they're getting off the nuts all the time. They've got phones, they're doing what they want. But then you get someone who's a life sentence prisoner who can't do any of that because they'll not get the parole if they get caught doing it. So for them, witnessing all this and trying to keep out of it, it's a fucking hellhole. So and if you're one of the lads that want to keep your head down, get in the gym, get yourself fit, but then you've got to witness 50 spice heads on the wings just gouging out, crawling all over what they're doing.
I remember when Spice Kiss kind of really took off up here just before I was released in 2019. Some of the things I seen, Jesus, mate, it was horrible. Like some of the things that they would do, the outbursts, and like people just flipping, rolling about the floors after taking spasms and shit. There was this one guy who he was in a guy's cell taking spice. A guy whose cell he was at a visit, right? And he was being sick in the guy's trainers. The guy left, like, he had two pairs of trainers, and he was spewing inside the trainers. Like, and I says, as he spewed all his cell and everything, I was like, imagine come back to a visit to see that another inmate had spewed all over your cell. You're not getting a move out that cell tonight. You need to clean that. Somebody's cleaning it. Like, it's horrendous. But obviously, I've been out of prison 6 years now, so I wouldn't say I keep in touch with anybody in prison, but obviously I've got my finger on the pulse a wee bit with guys who maybe I know from prison that are out in the street now and they know this and that or whatever. But it just sounds like it's getting worse. Like, it's constant. It is. Even when I was there, everybody's taking drugs. Like I was popping tramadol and fuck knows what, like smoking weed, whatever. But legal high, like, no, that's not even a drug, mate. It's like WD-40 on a fucking bit of paper, and guys are smoking it and absolutely flipping. Like, a good pal of mine ended up losing his marbles. He thought the screws had planted a microchip in his head, and he tried to set his cell in fact. Like, so there was this incident in the hall where the hall was in a lockdown, and he was one of the guys that went to the segregation. And because he was withdrawn from Spice, he started just doing this crazy shit. Like he was trying to burn his cell down, he was trying to flood it, then he would try and they would catch him trying to hang his cell, and he was doing it. He was saying there was a sniper outside the cell window that told him if he didn't put his face up to the glass and let them shoot him, that he had his parents hostage, they were going to kill his parents. And this would be like me the way we are talking just now, right? You imagine somebody come up to you and say, "Oh, that Tinpail, he flipped his lid and on the Spice and fucking," do you get what I mean? You'd be like, "What, him? Like, fuck's sake." Like, you would never have thought. It was a horrible, horrible sight. It really was. And that boy died a couple of years back. They found him in his cell, passed away. So we're seeing a lot more drug deaths as well. I've noticed. Aye, man, and it's scary. You don't know if they're dying with drugs or it's got to be. What else can it be? You know what I mean? It's horrible, mate.
Year on year, I was looking at the statistics, like the deaths inside a prison just getting more. It's not even even the murders as well. There's more murders happening. Murders used to be every couple of years or something. You'd hear about one. These are happening every few months. So it's there's murders. People. That's what people don't realize as well. You're going into a situation where it's a fucking war zone. People off their nuts. You've got to deal with other people's personalities. People off their nut. People getting murdered over the slightest thing, and fucking.
I know. Do you know what? See that's one of the things that I've noticed. Like, so a murder in Scotland would be like once in a generation type thing. If there's a murder in a Scottish prison, that's a major thing, right? I know it's happened more frequently in England, but it's, I don't know if it's maybe because you guys have a bigger prison system. What you have like 115 prisons or something, 112 or over 100 anyway.
90,000, I think there's about 80 odd thousand prisoners at the moment.
80
odd, that's nearly 90,000, I think, at the moment.
So is that 10,000 over capacity?
I think the capacity is around about 80, late 80s, and it's round about 90s. Like, I remember last year I done a video, there was something like 50 spaces left in the prison system, but you've got hundreds going in every year.
Well, there up in Scotland, they had to release people early, and then some of them were going back like 2 days later and shit. And everybody was, they were releasing people so that they could put other people in jail. But like, people were saying that this was a byproduct almost of the fact that they had started making people in Scotland serve their full sentences. So rather, if you got 10 years, you're doing the 10 years, you get out like 6 month early instead of get out like you do 2/3. You remember what I told you about my 16 years? So they done away with that. So now when if you get sentenced to 16 years, you were doing like 15 and a half years out of that. So maybe that was why the prisons were busting at capacity. But do you know what? See, when it comes to prison and criminal justice, what's working, they do the opposite. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's just my view on it, mate. They see something working, they sabotage it, mate. You know what I mean? They've not got a clue, mate.
That's exactly with probation, like what you were saying about fucking. You were surprised I got off it because my probation didn't want me to get off. They weren't recommending me to come off me license. Luckily, there was it went up in the House of Lords and everything about the IPPs trying to get it abolished. It did get abolished, but the ones that got the IPPs were kept on it. But they were trying to do it across the board retrospectively. But they brought new laws out for people that had been out of prison for so long, your license gets terminated.
Right.
If that law hadn't have come in, I would still be serving my IPP because probation didn't want us off it. They were trying to put more restrictions on us, the better I was doing. The more that I was building up my business, helping people in the community, the more they were trying to sabotage us. And it was as if they were trying to recall us back to prison for helping people. That's how bad it was. That's how bad probation are down here. I'm not sure what the like up in Scotland, whether they try and help you a bit more, but
well, the social worker that I had from when I was out in the community was the same guy I had from when I was 15. I met him when I was 17. He came to the young offenders to meet me. And he was basically the only... Now, remember what my first charge was? Well, my first conviction, should I say. It was for abducting 2 social workers. So this guy came to meet me when I was 17 when I was in prison. See, anytime they tried to change him, I used to just threaten the social worker, because what they would do was they would change him, right? When I got when I got to 16 years, they were always hitting me with and I smelt the hostility straight away, man. As soon as I walked in the room, you'd go to these meetings. We would call them ICMs, integrated case management meetings, right? It's basically like a mini it's like the psychologists, the screws, the governor, the social workers, the pro officers, all that stuff. And as soon as I walked in the room, mate, they tried to give me 2 different ones, right? And one of them, she was trying to sabotage my home leaves, I felt, right? She was asking my family really strange questions, like, would you be in fear of him if he came here, and what do people in the community think him and all that? Like, what? So the first time I met her, but I asked her, do you have an issue with me because of my charges, and my first charge? And she said, no, if I had an issue with you, I would tell you. And I says, right, cool. And then I got my parole reports in 2008. And the things that she was saying about me, like, I wasn't really impressed with. So I ended up sending her a letter, and she got took off the case. But they says they were charging me with breach of the peace for threatening her, but nothing ever came yet. And then I can't mind who I got after that, but then they ended up saying to this guy who I had for the start, like, you're going to take that, mate. I think I'd take him out of retirement and everything. I'm sick of him, man. But you know what? I've nothing bad to say about the guy. I don't know if he's passed away now or no, but he didn't fuck about with me. I like that. Just don't fuck about with me, mate. Don't sit and piss up my back and tell me it's raining. And then, but if I'm like, because he gave me, like, I remember, Ricky, this is how much this guy did give me, right? That's how much chance this guy did give me, right? Benefit of the doubt. I remember me and my brother were fighting when I was 18, and I was terrified of my brother back then, right? And he chased me with a cosh, and I ended up stabbing him in the back of the head with a pair of scissors, right? And I felt so horrible the next day, and I had to go meet him the next day. Like, they wouldn't even meet me in an office; he would actually meet me in his car and drive somewhere, right? And I, mate, and as soon as I got in the motor, I told him, I says, listen, I stabbed my brother. And he's like, what for? And I told him the whole story, but he knew the situation at home, and he knew my family if he going out to visit them when I was in prison. So that guy gave me a lot of leeway. So there are good social workers out there. It's just I've only ever met one of them.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? And I've met more social workers than met a lot of them, mate. Could fill a football stadium with them, know what I mean? I've met one good one.
Well, like you said, with probation, they're nice to your face. They tell you what you want to hear. You're sitting there, you're thinking, oh yes, everything's going well. You're doing well, whatever. You get your reports, and you think, what the fucking hell is this? They would have been an absolute psychopath, but they didn't tell you that when they're sitting talking to your face.
That's funny you're saying that, because that was why I threatened her. That's exactly how she described me. And I said to her, you're not qualified to use a PCLR, a psychopathy checklist, and you don't have a psychology degree. You're not trained in psychiatry. I'm probably better at telling somebody what a psychopath is than you. So I despise that word, because I believe that some traits that I had were mirroring psychopathy, but I do not have psychopathy. I know that. I have empathy. I know I have empathy. And I have bad anxiety and PTSD. Psychopaths don't lose sleep, or not that I lost sleep. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have conflict. Like, they don't give a fuck. They don't care. Know what I mean? I was pissed off about that, mate. But another story on it.
So obviously, yeah, like you say, when you're getting out of prison, you've turned your life around. Like myself, I got out in January 2021. Tell myself, you can never say that you'll never go back, but you can tell yourself, listen, I'm going to do everything in my power to not go back.
Yeah,
want to do everything in my
100%.
power to look after my wife, to look after my kids. But
Yeah.
you cannot really say 100% that you would never go back to prison, because you never know what is going to happen in your life.
Yep.
Like we say, we are protective female, we are protective alpha males. And if someone harms your family or does something, or you see somebody else getting harmed, then you're going to defend them.
Yep.
But that defense could end up back in prison. Obviously, when you defend somebody or defend yourself, even if you go a bit too far, then in the eyes of the court of law, they'll say, yes, but you went too far. So you can never say never, but you just got to do everything in your power not to go back.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not responsible for how other people act. You're only responsible for how you respond. And I think when it comes to my son, Ricky, I have nightmares about prison. See, the other night, I woke up still thinking that I was in prison. That only happened to me one time, and it was like when I first got out. And the other day, I woke up and I had a prison dream, right? And I'd woke up and I was like, fuck, and I actually done this. Let's see, like just before I opened my eyes, I was like, fuck's sake, like as if I'm still in the jail. And I done that, and I kind of looked about, and I was like, my head's toasted, man.
I've had that before. It's happened to me a couple of times as well.
So I don't want to ever set foot in a prison again. But when it comes to protecting my child or somebody I deeply care about, then say, Gamble, you need to.
Yeah, the worst dreams like that are the ones when you're actually in prison and you wake up and you think you're on the out. And you fucking open your eyes.
Aye,
you wake
one
up,
time that happened to me.
The prison bars and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Aye. And man, and people actually wouldn't believe that only happened to me one time. Only that ever happened to me, and it was Barlinnie. When I was remanded, and I was dreaming about outside, and I woke up thinking I was outside, and then for just a split second, then I was like, murder in it.
A couple of times, because I don't know if you've done it, but I used to have a nap over dinner time when you've been to workshops or whatever in the morning.
Right, the shed.
Dinner from 12 till 2. Always used to have a nap over dinner, half an hour nap. And that's when it used to happen, because I used to be like, just have obviously like half an hour sleep and wake up a bit delirious and like, oh, for fuck's sake. I'm still here.
If I went for a nap at lunchtime, I'm not going back out. They're getting told to fuck off and shut the door. So I try and no do that, mate, because I know if I have something to do but I'm tired, then I need a nap before it. There's a good chance it's not happening, mate. Mother.
Well, what's it like at the moment on the streets up in Scotland? Because the UK is absolutely, in my opinion, has gone to absolute shit with this illegal immigration. I know we're going off topic here a little bit, but it still comes into play with everything because of all the people that's getting put in prison for speaking up about it, which is absolutely ludicrous. Actually, I've done a video the other day. They've actually set up an elite police task force unit.
I seen it. Was it in the Guardian?
If you put a post on talking about these illegal immigrants, you're going to go into prison. Why not set an elite task force unit up to monitor these immigrants who are coming in, who nobody knows the background? They haven't got no criminal background check. And it speaks for itself what's actually happening on the street. It's happening in my hometown back in England. So, and I've seen some videos, seen Billy Moore doing a video up in Glasgow and that, and it just looked horrendous in the city centre.
Well, it is horrendous, Ricky. So I've lived in Glasgow more or less my whole life, and when I'm walking up the city centre, it looks like fucking Beirut, Baghdad, take your pick, Mogadishu. And I'm seeing multiple Facebook posts, social media posts, right? Give a quick example. This lassie in an eastern Scottish city posted her Ring doorbell footage. 3 non-Indigenous males, clearly Pakistani, Bangladeshi, or somewhere like that. they went to the door. There was 3 of them standing at a door, and one of them says to the other one, "Just be gentle, be gentle." And what were they? Everybody's comment. You need to phone the cops. You need to phone the cops. I says, listen. How did they know you didn't have a big fucking giant male, like a big boyfriend, no built like a big shit house, baseball bat behind the door, a Rottweiler? I said, they followed you home or they've seen you somewhere and followed you. I would bet my life on it. There was, in fact, 5 minutes from where I live in an area, there was a Pakistani male caught filming children in his car by a woman who lived in the area. And but this has happened all over the place. This guy's been caught like 3 times. He's been exposed on child grooming pages, predators, all that stuff. And the police are telling the citizens that no crime has been committed. Right? People feel like I'm not the type of guy who feels I can call myself a victim and say I need to phone the police. Right? I'll just fucking I'll try and sort it out another way, right? And I don't always mean violence, right? But what I mean is there is genuine people out there, like citizens never committed a crime in their life, who have genuine concerns about them and their children and their children's future, and they're being gaslighted into being called bigoted and racist and waving a Union Jack. You're a racist, you're far right. How are you far right for waving your own country's flag? It's like double think. Do you know what I mean? So if you wave a Pakistani flag, are you far right? By definition, by the British government's definition, you're far right. If you wave an India flag, you're far right. You're a nationalist. If you support your country in the eyes of the British government, you're far right. People are sick of it. And the good thing is now that, to be honest, I was kind of a bit reticent to speak up about these issues, and I didn't want it anywhere near my channel or whatever. Like, if you'd have brought this up to me when I first came on your channel, I'd have been like shit, how do I dodge this question? But see now, I'm fucking sick to the back teeth of my own citizens being scared, right? And this is the thing I know, right? People see in Ireland, Monty Irish, they know what they're doing. They're standing up, right? They've got really good social cohesion, right? And I seen this guy who was basically a loyalist going up to a Republican march, and they set their differences aside because what they're doing now is they're fighting for their citizens. They're not fighting for a flag. They're not fighting for a flag. They're not fighting for the cause and all that shit. They're fighting for the future of their children and their kids. And one thing that I do study pretty deeply is Islamic fundamentalism. And I'm telling you now that this is here. There we had four Iranians, right, posing as illegal immigrants. And who kicked their door in? The SAS. You try to tell me that they were here just because they wanted to fly a flag and all this crap, mate. If the SAS are kicking your door in, mate, that's as high as it gets. So I bet you any money, right? I would bet you any money there is terror groups out there who have operators who are masquerading as refugees to get into this country and settle. And then once they've settled in and all this kind of shit, they'll be launching attacks further down the road. And I guarantee you also that amongst these boats, there will be people who have taken human life in their own countries, who have committed unspeakable crimes in their own countries, and now they're walking amongst our citizens. And I'm not picking, I would never go, he's Somali, I'm going to batter him, mate. I love talking to, but there's Nigerian people that live in my building, I talk to them all the time. There's like a Chinese lass in my class. I love talking to foreign people about what it's like in their country. I'm not far right. If you want to come to if you go to anybody's country, you abide by their rules and their laws. You're not there to be oppressed. Do you get what I mean? And this is what really pisses me off, mate.
If you've entered that country illegally, and you're getting everything given for free, but then you're still taking things from people, as in taking the dignity and whatever else. It's just beyond a fucking joke. Because, like you've just said as well, I was also like that as well. I thought I'm not talking about that on my channel because
you did get a jail.
I don't want to be seen as that because I'm not far right either. I've got friends from all different nationalities. I'm actually out here in Thailand, in another country. I am a migrant over here, but I respect the values, respect the people, love the Thai people. But these people that are going into the UK illegally, they're taking everything they can. And obviously they're not all the same, but they're going in there illegally.
Yeah, exactly. So you've committed a crime before you even came here.
Going down the country, in every town, in every city, kids are getting raped. So what is, like, you know what I mean? And then if you speak up about it or you retaliate, you're the one that gets put in prison because you put a post on or you're defending the kids or whatever. But people are afraid to talk about it, but it is actually happening. Even in the place where I'm from, it's just a little mining village. County Durham, just a little village. It's not like a big city.
Right.
It's rammed full of migrants. And last weekend, 2 migrants have grabbed a hold of a 15-year-old lass and done things to her. Like, fucking hell, what is going on?
Do you know what I hate? See the people who stand, because to me, far left and far right are two sides of the same coin. I'm no far right or far left or centre right. Depending on the political situation, I'll tell you what I think of that situation, which will show you where I'm at on the political spectrum. I'm not against immigration, right? But I'm against what's happening right now, right? And it's becoming a powder keg situation where what you just said, they're getting all these free benefits. They're supposed to settle in the first safe country they reach. Tell me something. Why are they not immigrating to Muslim countries? Because if I was a Muslim and I had to flee violence in my country, I would be going to a Muslim country. Why the fuck would I want to come to Britain? Like Britain? Do you know what I mean? And then you're getting... I know somebody who works in the local council who knows a bit about all this, and she's telling me that they're getting the choice between an iPhone and an Android. They're getting the choice between this and that. And they're getting... There was a guy on... It was on... This guy I know, he was saying, migrants are not getting benefits, not. So I said I'd heard they were, but it's turned out that they are. How can somebody with no British national insurance or whatever be entitled to any benefits or anything? Somebody said to me, like, oh, but your own benefits not. And I was like, but I'm a British citizen. I don't. I'm on benefits because I'm like, I've got PTSD and bad anxiety. Plus, who the fuck would employ somebody like me? If you read about me on paper, been in jail for 20 years, blah, 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 no skills. He can read Arabic and he can read fucking geopolitical stuff, and he's quite smart, but can't tie shoes. Like, why the fuck would you employ somebody like that? You wouldn't be interested as an employer. I'm unsellable. My pro officer even said it. He's like, nobody will touch you. So I'm trying to make the best of a bad situation. But when people are saying things like, oh, you're far right because you don't want people here who aren't supposed to even be here in the first place. Not even that. There's been petrol added onto the fire where they're getting put up in hotels, getting everything laid on for them. And now they're building all these, there's all these housing projects springing up everywhere that were supposed to be student accommodation. It's going to be interesting to see who's moving into these. I'll tell you something, because that something tells me it's no students. And you know the best way I find to defeat people like this is verbally, because what I've found is a lot of the people who are saying stuff about this, when I'm debating them, they don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about. You can tell, like they were brought up with this idealised. They weren't brought up in a housing scheme and fucking dad went to jail, mum died of heroin and all this stuff. You can tell they're like what's the cause of the day? What's the cause of today? What we doing today? Right? Know what I laugh at, right? They're all wannabe communists, right? Communism has never worked in any fucking country it's ever been deployed in. It's probably killed as many people as cancer's killed. But I find it funny, right? There was this guy I was arguing with him on Twitter, and seeing his profile, he put not the date of birth. His date of birth was the date of the Russian Revolution, right? Now remember, this is a guy doing a PhD in a Scottish university, right? His date of birth is the Russian Revolution. He's got one of the Vladimir Lenin caps on, right? So to me, what the fuck is he doing? Basically, shouting about, or like, he's basically advocating for communism, right? Which I find totally hilarious because he's walking about with iPhones and MacBooks and fuck knows what, was made out of capitalism. They're supporting capitalism, even buying that. See all these far left nutters, mate. They're absolute idiots. That's what I'm saying. Half of these people who are even at these protests, they don't even know why they're there. They don't even know why. They're just there because they feel it's the right thing to do. Refugees, welcome here. Then what was it when the Ukraine war was on as well, right? When remember the C word, the virus, don't want to say it in your channel in case you get fucking right. So when all that was going on, right, you weren't allowed to go. You weren't allowed to go and see your mum dying in a care home, but you were allowed to take a Ukrainian refugee in. What made sense about that? What made sense there? And people still believe this. I'm like, fucking hell. Know what I mean? It's absolute.
Obviously, all of this interlinks with prison as well, because obviously people who speak about it are ending up in prison. All these migrants that are committing crimes are ending up in prison. What's going to happen when they're all in prison together? They're going to be forming gangs in prison. Well, they already are. They're joining the Muslim Brotherhood inside the prison system. It's getting bigger and bigger inside the prison system. That is worse. I've done a video, I think it was last week, about an Iranian migrant that raped a young girl, went to prison, and he was actually being a nuisance inside the prisons. He was a racist. He didn't like the white people, so he wasn't allowed to be padded up. He had to have a single pad because he was racist. So why come to he was a legal migrant, so why come to the country in the first place to then go and rape one of the young children and then get sent to prison, and you're a racist, shouting all sorts on the wing, can't get padded up with anybody from another ethnicity, has to be someone from the same. Imagine a white person doing that inside the prison.
That's exactly what I want to get to. It's almost like it's only racist if you're white. Like, I find that astounding, right? It's like, if I use this, if somebody called me a white bastard, right? Do you think they would go to jail for that? They wouldn't. They wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think they would. You know what I mean? But if I used a racial slur, then my door would be going in. You know what I mean? I think that the government's compromised in some form to an Islamist bloc of politicians, that they must have something big on whoever it is, right, at the top of the government that's control. And I know it sounds mental to some people, but this is that, like, I don't get this for reading newspapers. I think about things critically. Who the fuck is sabotaging their own country like this? When a guy... So let me ask you a question. So seeing the English prison system, are they actually referred to as the Muslim Brotherhood?
That's in prison there, like, you wouldn't see like they just see like the Muslims, but obviously out here when they're referred to inside, they'll say like the Muslim Brotherhood, but they do refer to themselves as the Brotherhood, to be honest. So that is right. Correct.
So I don't know if they're actually meaning Muslim Brotherhood as in the parent of Hamas. So Hamas was created by the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. But I do know that Muslims refer to each other as brother and sister, if you get me. So I don't know what. Right. So I didn't. That's why I asked you that question. Do they actually believe? Are they actually peddling the Muslim Brotherhood narrative, or are they just calling themselves the Brotherhood like we're brothers? Because I know they. Like I talk to the Pakistani shopkeepers and I call them brother and friend and all that all the time. Like. And I actually speak in their own accent, because and people think that somebody says that's racist, and I was like, no, it's no. I says I taught a guy in Pakistan, a guy from Pakistan. I taught him English for 2 years in prison, right? And I used to speak to him in his own not his own language, but his own accent. And one of the teachers laughed to me that's messing up him learning English. And I says, no, it's no. I says he understands me better because he speaks in broken English. You know what I mean? So people need to...
Like you just said, like when you're in prison, the Cockneys will say to the Geordie lads, what's happening, Geordie? Way I, man. So
Aye, well, it's probably bigoted because we're the same race, but I get what you're saying. It's like somebody, if you called me a jock, right? You call me a jock, it's or a sweaty sock jock. Like who gives a fuck, mate? Or they call everybody jock down south. So, all right, jock. Know what I mean? I couldn't give a fuck, mate. It's no, like sort it out, mate. It's just we've got to a stage in the world where they're just weaponising words to get people suppressed and shit. And it's imagine what it's like even in prison. I'll tell you a story. I remember this screw, right? Listen to this, man. I was fucking fuming, mate. He says, we're thinking about doing away with the word Christmas. Right away, I jumped on that, mate, right? Fucking right away, bro. And I was like, why is that? I knew what he was going to say. And he says, so we don't offend the Muslims. And I done that to him. So we're going to do away with the word Ramadan so we don't offend the Christians. They don't have an answer for the rate. They hit out with shit and don't even... I love just catching them out with these questions because they can't debate. The left can't debate. Know what I mean? Like doing away with the word Christmas. Like, fuck off. Are you serious? In a jail? Oh, don't get me started, Ricky, man.
The lefties will be watching this when I put it up and they'll be saying, look at them two baldy racist men.
I know, I got that. I got that over all skinhead neo-Nazis and fucking... Mate, mate, the only good Nazis is a dead one. That's what I think are Nazis, mate. Them that support Nazism or Nazi ideology, to me, is just as bad as someone supporting the far-right Islamist ideology. To me, they're just different. They're the same monster, different face. Do you know? But, like, until I see the Aryan Brotherhood or the KKK driving through Christmas markets, raping kids in taxis, or shooting up schools, or blowing up concerts and all that, until I see that, then I will begin to speak out about that as well, because the Global Terrorism Index is almost always, for the past few years, been over 95% jihadi attacks. So show me where these white... There's a lot of bad people in all walks of life and all skin colours, all ethnicities and all that, but until I see a neo-Nazi blowing up a concert, shouting Allah Akbar and stabbing the shit out of somebody or whatever it is that they're all doing, like coming here on boats and all that, then I'll start speaking up about that. But until then, mate, know what I mean? Just fry man up, mate.
Aye, absolutely mental. But on that note, Chris, I think we'll wrap this one up. But
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
If anyone isn't on Tinpail TV on YouTube, I'll put the link in the description. Head over to his channel. Some very interesting videos on.
Aye.
Different videos and crime stories.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Thanks for having me back on. It's been a while, mate.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, mate. It's always good having a good chat with you.
Brilliant, big man.
I'm off 10 at night here, so I'm nearly get myself settled down, get ready. I
was just going to say, you better go and hit the beach. Yeah. I thought you were about to hit the beach here, and I'm thinking, fucking, it's in Thailand. It's probably like fucking 11 o'clock just now. When all the CD shit's happening. But no, proud of you for sticking through it and getting off your license and going from strength to strength, mate. You're a credit to your family and your children. You're breaking the cycle with your own kids. Your kids are not going to become the way you were when you were a kid. And my kid, I'm breaking the cycle with my kid. And that's our purpose now. Do you know what I mean? Keep doing what you're doing, mate. You're smashing it.
Same as you, mate. Well done to you. Like you say, you've kept out. We're both doing similar things. We've come from similar backgrounds. We're both doing similar things. We've both got the similar heads.
Yeah, well, mine's isn't a choice, but you look like you could grow it in.
Just receding a little bit.
Yeah, fuck it, innit?
Yeah, nice one, Paul. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Take care.
You too. Take care. Have a good night. Thanks, everybody.